There's an undeniable chill in the air when you step foot in a cemetery. It's a silence that presses in, a silence broken only by the wind rustling through the leaves. It's a heavy feeling, the weight of thousands of souls past, lingering in the air. There's a reason cemeteries are the backdrop for countless horror stories. It's because there's something inherently unsettling about them. Something that sends shivers down your spine. We've all felt it, that prickle on the back of your neck, the feeling of being watched, the hair standing up on your arms. It's the feeling that we are not alone, that something else is present among the headstones, something unseen that exists just beyond our veil of reality. Cemeteries are portals. They are thin places where the veil between our world and the next is thin, places where the dead can reach out, and sometimes they do. Graveyards. They're called different things in different places: cemeteries, burial grounds, God's acres. But no matter the name, they all inspire the same sense of dread, the same morbid fascination, because we know what lies beneath the surface. We're drawn to the mystery of death, to the idea that something might remain of us after we're gone. And what better place to find evidence of that than a cemetery? Where else can you walk among the dead and feel their presence so strongly? But cemeteries aren't just places of peace and remembrance. They can also be places of intense fear. Places where the dead refuse to stay buried. Places where the veil between our world and the next is ripped wide open. These are their stories. The true stories of the cemeteries haunted by the spirits they hold. The stories that will make you think twice about visiting a graveyard after dark. Deep in the heart of Salem, Massachusetts, nestled among the historic homes and witch trial landmarks, lies the old burying point. It is one of the oldest cemeteries in America, dating back to the 1630s, and it's said to be one of the most haunted. Among the weathered headstones and moss-covered crypts, there's one grave that draws the attention of even the most skeptical visitor. It's the grave of Mary Corey, known by locals as the Old Widow. Accused of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials, she was hanged in 1692. Legend has it that she cursed the town as she died, and her vengeful spirit has haunted the cemetery ever since. One night, a young couple decided to test the local legends. They snuck into the old burying point after dark, making their way through the shadows to the old widow's grave. They stood there for a moment, feeling the weight of the history surrounding them. Then they heard it. A low, mournful wail coming from the grave itself. The couple froze, their hearts pounding in their chests. The wailing grew louder, and the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. Terrified, they fled the cemetery, never to return. The couple's story quickly spread through Salem, adding to the lore of the old widow's grave. Some dismissed it as a prank. Others whispered that the couple had disturbed the spirit's resting place and that she had made them pay for their disrespect. But the story didn't end there. Others who visited the old widow's grave reported strange occurrences. Whispers on the wind, carrying the scent of lavender, said to be the old widow's favorite. Shadows moving independently in the moonlight, and the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Some even claimed to have seen the old widow herself. A spectral figure in a white gown, her face obscured by the darkness. She would appear for a fleeting moment before vanishing into thin air. Section 5. The Mystery of the Old Widow. To this day, the old widow's grave remains a source of mystery and fear in Salem. Is it truly haunted by the vengeful spirit of Mary Corey? Or are the stories nothing more than local legends amplified by the town's dark history? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. The old widow's grave is a place where the line between history and hauntings blurs, a place where the past refuses to stay buried, and a place where the living can catch a glimpse of the world beyond our own. But the old widow's grave is not the only cemetery with a haunting tale to tell. Across the country, in small towns and bustling cities alike, there are graveyards with their own dark secrets, cemeteries where the dead seem to have a life of their own. Section 6. The Hollow Graveyard and the Buried Alive Man. In the rural backroads of Pennsylvania, hidden among rolling hills and abandoned farmsteads, lies the Hollow Graveyard. This small, forgotten cemetery is shrouded in an eerie silence. The only sound is the creaking of the ancient oak trees that stand guard over the weathered headstones. The Hollow Graveyard is home to a particularly unsettling tale. The tale of Jeremiah, the buried alive man. Local legend has it that Jeremiah was a farmer who lived in the 1800s. He fell deathly ill one winter, and in a time before modern medicine, he was mistakenly declared dead and laid to rest in the Hollow Graveyard. But Jeremiah wasn't dead. He was in a coma. He awoke to find himself trapped in his coffin, 6 feet beneath the cold, hard ground. He screamed for help, but his cries went unanswered. He clawed at the wooden planks until his fingers bled, but there was no escape. Eventually, Jeremiah succumbed to his fate. His screams were silenced by the weight of the earth above him. Years later, a group of teenagers stumbled upon the Hollow Graveyard while on a dare. They wandered through the overgrown paths, reading the names on the headstones. As they passed Jeremiah's grave, one of the teenagers noticed something peculiar. Scratched into the surface of the headstone, barely visible beneath years of grime and moss, was a single word: help. Section 7. Oak Cemetery and the Whispering Graves. Oak Cemetery, on the outskirts of Savannah, Georgia, is known for its live oak trees draped in Spanish moss. Locals tell of chilling whispers from the graves after nightfall. They say these are the voices of Confederate soldiers who perished during the Civil War. Visitors report hearing their names called out in hushed tones. One incident cemented Oak Cemetery's haunted reputation. A young woman spent the night there with a flashlight and voice recorder. She heard a low, guttural voice whisper her name. They found her body the next morning, eyes wide with terror. The whispers had claimed another victim. Section 8. The lingering fear of cemeteries. Cemeteries hold a strange power over us. They are places of mourning, yes, but also places of mystery. Places that force us to confront our own mortality. Is it any wonder that they inspire such fear? That we tell stories of vengeful spirits and restless souls? Perhaps it's the silence that gets to us. The way the wind whistles through the trees, sounding like whispers from beyond the grave. Or maybe it's the headstones themselves, standing as silent sentinels, reminding us that death comes for us all. Whatever the reason, cemeteries remain places of both fascination and fear. Places where the veil between our world and the next seems to thin. Places where the dead can reach out and touch the living. So the next time you find yourself walking through a cemetery, remember the stories. Remember the old widow. Remember Jeremiah. And remember the whispers of Oak Cemetery. You never know who or what might be listening.